sunglasses is that they cut out all the UV light and it heavily distorts the light spectrum. So we really want full spectrum light because it allows us to absorb vitamin D. Light, it's so important for like blood sugar regulation, immune function, even optimizing your gut microbiome. All of that is, depends on the sun. So what I would recommend when out in the sun is I do think that if you're out for like a really long period of time, you should have sun protection. So there's different foods that can protect us, like vitamin E, vitamin C, zinc, iodine, vitamin A, saturated fats like butter. Those are all going to protect us from the UV light. So if you're going to be out in the sun for a while, I do recommend upping like the antioxidants, especially vitamin E and vitamin C. In addition, I like wide brimmed hats. If you need to do the sunglasses, I would recommend a neutral gray tint, because the neutral gray tint actually cuts down on the visible light spectrum. So then you're making the spectrum more balanced by cutting down on both the UV light and the visible light spectrum. So the gray lenses are good for people that have like light sensitivity, because it cuts down on the visible light spectrum a lot. They always blame like pterygium on the sun, but they found that there was like this study done on the Cree people, and they didn't live in like a tropical climate, but it was like a lot of ice and stuff, so they were getting a lot of, I guess, reflection from the sun. But they were wearing like these wraparound sunglasses, like they were wearing like heavy duty sunglasses, and they actually had a really high rate of pterygium in that community. So it definitely isn't just the sun. There's definitely a lot more at play there. The sunglasses even work because then you're just distorting the light spectrum and causing other damages. So I think mitigation and, protection with your diet and mitigation with things like hats is like the best solution. Ideally, there could be like a better sunglass made, maybe like if there's like only 50% of the UV rays cut down and then a gray tint over that. But it seems to me like all the sunglasses cut down on 100% of the UV light. But I think, people are not doing the right thing with the sun. So they're not properly fueled with the proper nutrients to protect them. That's one of the causes. They're wearing sunglasses all the time, which is making the spectrum so uneven. And then the other problem is that non-native EMF is a big driver of cataracts, as well as glycation in the lens proteins. Also, calcification is playing a big role. The depletion of the antioxidants in the eye. So the main ones are vitamin C and glutathione. Those are the two main antioxidants that are protecting against the cataracts. And those are being depleted with diet and things like that. Diabetics get cataracts a lot sooner because the blood sugar dysregulation is driving that. And then people that are exposed to radiation too. So that you see like radiation type, there's different types of cataracts. That's what people don't really know, is that there's different cataracts for a diabetic. You can see like a special type of cataract if someone's diabetic. You'll see there's a different type of cataract that you see with radiation poisoning and things like that. So iron is a big cause of oxidative stress. And I actually do like bioresident eye scans, and I often see iron coming up on people's eye scans because it's causing a lot of, especially to the eyes, they're super susceptible. So because they have a really high metabolic rate. So the iron-induced oxidative stress is another big cause of it. Vitamin C, vitamin E, those are big. B vitamins are going to be really important, just for like the metabolism and supporting your thyroid function. So like copper, taurine can be really helpful for supporting the liver because the eyes are very connected to the liver. Supporting collagen health. So I really like bone broth, things like chicken feet, supporting collagen health with MSM. There's MSM eye drops, and then you can also take that internally. I really like TUDCA to support the liver. So all these things that you can do, like castor oil packs, it's really going to help keep your eyes healthier for longer. Iron basically causes a lot of oxidative stress in the eye because we're all exposed to like excess amounts of it in the food. A lot of people grow up on the fortified food, especially if you were eating cereal. And like all of that dysregulates the copper regulation, which impacts ceruloplasmin and vitamin A status. And we know that vitamin A is super, super important for the eyes.
Yes.
Especially for the photoreceptors. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that the rods and the cones, they really need vitamin A to function properly. I've heard cod liver oil. I've heard a lot about the cod liver oil recently and people saying that it helps their vision. Things like beef liver, raw dairy, butter, eggs, that's all going to be really good for the vitamin A. I think it depends on your thyroid function, right? I think there's probably a sweet spot for everyone, but depending on your thyroid depends on how much you need, also depends on how much sun you're getting.
Yes.
Since the vitamin A and vitamin D are kind of on a spectrum.
Yes.
So I really think it's very bio-individual for every person. So I do think you should get your levels tested before going full force with like the beef liver. I definitely think there's a sweet spot. Everything's on a spectrum, and like I don't think that you can just take one thing and like I don't think there's any silver bullets where like if you just take cod liver oil and your vision will be great. Like it really just depends on like your personal nutrient needs, and everyone is different, and everyone also has like different genetic makeups and like where your ancestors are from. I think that also plays a role in how much nutrients you need. Yeah, like the Visine's really bad because what it does is it constricts the blood vessels so that you're not having as much blood flow. But then after doing that, the body tries to compensate for it. So there's a rebound effect, and then the blood vessels dilate even more than before because now it's like, oh no, like rush all the blood in because we were just getting less blood than we needed. So now the eye is basically like, oh, okay, we need a lot more blood now. So now we have to make the blood vessels even wider. And then so people just get caught up in that and putting those in every day. But meanwhile, like if they focus on, the root cause of what's causing the redness, they could eradicate the problem. I see this in a lot of contact lens wearers, I guess, because their eyes aren't getting enough oxygen throughout the day. And their eyes are just getting irritated from the contact lens solutions and things like that. So that could be one reason, is that your eyes aren't getting enough oxygen. They're not getting enough light so they're more stressed. People that have like histamine issues and allergies, they can get red itchy eyes. So just like supporting copper metabolism, beef kidney is something that you can take to support the DAO enzyme that regulates histamine. Things like that. Taurine eye drops they're pretty cheap, and they're actually really good for supporting the eyes and for detoxification. MSM eye drops are going to be really kind of nourishing instead of relying on like the other over-the-counter eye drops. There's homeopathic eye drops that I like. Just if you feel like your eyes are a little bit dry, you've been staring at the computer for too long and not blinking enough. When we're on the computer, we tend to stare. So when we stare, we're actually not blinking as much as we should be. Other cause is that there's a blue light imbalance, and that's going to activate the sympathetic nervous system. And since your eyes are so connected to the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system controls all of the lacrimal gland secretions and the meibomian gland secretions as well. So there's 3 layers to the tears. All the layers of the tears are pretty much impacted by the nervous system. Yeah, so that's a big cause, just being stuck in chronic fight or flight, not staring at the computer, not blinking. Is it a really dry environment? Is there mold? A lot of people who live in moldy environments, they get like clogged glands over here. They get redness. If you're waking up a lot like that in the morning, you might want to look into your breathing, how you're sleeping. Are you breathing through your nose or your mouth? If you're mouth breathing, that can cause more dryness in the morning. So I would, just look into things like that, optimize your environment, getting an air purifier. I don't really like LASIK just because it's a stress. It's a huge stress to the visual system. Any surgery is. It's really going to disrupt the vitreous. It puts you at more of a risk for dry eyes because it's cutting the corneal nerves. It's also, when the flap heals, it's held down by a weaker scar tissue. So it puts you at risk at any point. If you ever get hit in the eye or anything, the flap can dislodge. And that can impact your vision. And then also, if you think about it, if you're impacting the vitreous, you're putting yourself at a higher risk for getting cataracts earlier. And then you're putting yourself at risk for a posterior vitreous detachment.
Wow.
So they found that people that have LASIK have more of a risk for that. Yeah, because if you're changing the thickness, basically that's what you're doing. You're creating a thinner surface on the eye. That's going to have some impact on the wavelengths of light. So I think it is related to depression too. Whenever I do like an eye scan on someone that had LASIK, the bioresonance machine will tell me like how stressed their eye is. And oftentimes the eye is like very stressed. So one of the areas that I see being very stressed with LASIK is actually the vitreous. So for the vitreous to be healthy, you need structured water. So I would really focus on structured water, getting, UV light in the eyes, because that helps to structure water in the eyes, and just really keeping up on like the antioxidants and the food and increasing circulation, working on relaxing your eyes. There's different exercises you can do, just because your eyes really control the nervous system. So a lot of people don't realize that like people heavily rely on your visual system. And so a lot of the nervous system stress is stemming from the eyes. So if you're clenching your jaw, right? Like if you have, pelvic floor, if your pelvic floor can't relax, all of that is related to whether or not your eyes are able to relax. Learning how to relax your eyes can really help relax everything. Even just like doing some vision exercises to strengthen your non-dominant eye, because all of us have a dominant eye. You can actually test this out. If you put your hands together and you make a triangle.
Okay.
And then like, let's say I'm like focusing on the cloud.
Okay.
If you just don't focus on the cloud, but center it and then just bring it toward your face, I always go to my right eye. So I'm right eye dominant. So basically you center it and then you look at the object and then just slowly bring it toward your face while you're keeping the object centered. The thing is that if you're right eye dominant, you're more likely to have a left head tilt. And then you're more likely for your jaw to go toward the dominant side. So if you strengthen your non-dominant eye, that can have like benefits on like your posture.